Hey,
Guy, can you hear me?
yes.
I just had somebody call me and they said that they were looking for where they can hear you. Tom wants to come in, and Tom's going to come in and be in the chat room for a little bit while we talk. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Sorry for being late. I got running around and the time change thing I have a hard time with
Oh no, you know
sometimes.
what, Guy? I was going to ask you this. I'm gonna see. Hold on. Let me let Tom Kibler wants to come in here too. Let him just come in and say hi. Tom, I'm just going to bring you in for a second, just so you can see all of us here. Hey, Tom. Of course, guys with me. I'm trying to text the person back at the number that they called, but they don't have the right radio station. They can't find the information. Yes, it's being broadcasted live right now on howltheradio.net because I own the radio, so I've been owning it for 24 years. But it's also on Facebook. So if he can't get the information now, we'll send it to him through the Facebook, and I'm recording the show, so we'll be good. But what I wanted to ask you before we start, Guy, let's try to see at the end of this if somebody's looping the speaker, guys. I hear the speaker.
Yeah, hang on.
But it's also on Facebook. So if
somebody watching Facebook too,
we'll send it to him through the Facebook, and I'm recording the show.
Somebody must be watching Facebook.
Okay, I just turned my Facebook off.
Oh, so Tom, are you watching Facebook?
Yeah, I just got on.
Okay, so that was we were getting the feedback from you. Okay, listen, what I wanted to ask you guys, after we get done with this, let's try to do this with a more better thing, like a monthly thing, weekly thing, so we can keep people up on what's going on, look at some people that have used your program, and bring them in and then see how they've been doing and what they're doing.
Oh my God, that would be so
that's
wonderful.
A testimony to what you're doing.
I love it.
Okay, good.
Hi, Bill. Tom, what's your name?
Tom. That's Tom.
Tom. Okay. Hi, Tom.
Tom's watching us. Tom's watching us right now. Welcome, Tom, too. I think me and Tom are old friends. I don't even remember, but I think we are.
Yep. And Guy and I are friends as well.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. So I gave Tom the password to come in because I wanted, him to maybe do some feedback or something like that, because we need maybe a third party. But Guy, I want to introduce you. And the best way to introduce you is the person I just met. You are an incredible, amazing guy for what you have accomplished and what you're going to accomplish, especially with creating a lot of people that are very happy with what's going on, even though we have COVID going on. So I want to introduce everybody to the community, radio community, and also Facebook, to Guy Neighbors.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. You're welcome in so many ways. So tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got started in this, and then we'll go into what you're doing.
Well, I got started in this due to be honest, to the government attacking me and my family. And I refused to stop blogging and complaining about what they were doing. And so they decided they were going to teach me a lesson. And throughout that process caused me to lose my property. And when the government started teaching me a lesson, I wasn't learning the lesson. So they decided I was mentally ill, and they shipped me out to a mental institution for an evaluation. And I never gave up. I have someone that's watching my back, definitely. And they decided that they were going to teach me a lesson still. So I ended up getting 3 mental evaluations and actually four mental evaluations in 4 different states over a 33-month period of time. And they actually sent me back with a forced medication order to Butner, South Carolina, Butner, North Carolina, medical facility. And I actually appealed the order from the medical facility, and I won the appeal, so they wasn't able to medicate me. But anyway, and throughout that process of them teaching me a lesson, what they taught me was that the only way that people are going to be able to get things done is if you do it yourself.
Very true. Very, very true. You've come from a lot of backgrounds there, especially with mental evaluations. I have to kind of take you back to a little bit what happened with me. I mean, I've been fighting the government and foreclosures and banks for over 10 years. They said the same thing with me, but here's the thing with me. I was with the New Jersey State Police for 25 years as an automotive technician. So everybody that I came in contact with was part of the CIA, FBI. Everybody that they were going against me said, "Oh no, I know this guy. He's been around. He's a great guy. He's, and your credibility speaks for itself when that happens." So there's nothing they can do when you go to the CFPB or whatever it is and report them. And I reported them so many times to the different organizations. Nothing ever happened, just to be honest with you. But I did it. And I contacted my friends, the CIA, FBI, because these guys know me personally. They had a personal relationship with me, formed and bonded when I worked for the New Jersey State Police. So when they said that this person's crazy or this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they stood up for me. That's the only thing that I can relate to what you're saying. But at the same time, my situation was a little different. Everybody's situation is different depending on what they do, right? And where they go and who they see. Because I also went to the county and worked there for a while. Now, this is not all about me. This is just a little bit about what's going on with my life and what happened with me to relate with what you're talking about. So let's take it from there. How did you pick yourself up and bring yourself where you were at now? Because you look like you're doing well. You look like you're doing great.
I spent my life in sports. I played college football for the University of Kansas. I boxed for 4 years. So, you learned if you're if you're very good in doing those things, you learn that.
Right.
And this is what I taught my kids too. You can accomplish whatever you want if you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Right.
And my wife repairs washing machines and refrigerators and stuff. And my daughter came to me one day, and my wife was not around. She was actually gone out of town. And my daughter's like, "Dad, can you help me fix this big brand new Samsung washer that's messing up the front loader that weighs more than I do?" And I said, "Well, sweetie, I don't know. We should maybe wait till your mom comes." And she looked at me and said, "No, Dad, we can do this. We just need to get our game plan together." And at that point, I realized that my daughter thought that advice was for me too.
So you took the ball and literally ran with it, as they say in football.
Well, actually, I play on defense, so they never let me run with the ball, but I always dreamed of doing that.
That's so cool. So
for me, I was not able to protect my family with this foreclosure stuff. And I was laughed at. Attorneys laughed at me in court. And they treated me with such disrespect, it pretty much pissed me off.
That's right.
And that's why I'm here today. But I had to learn this in a different way, because you can't do any research based off of what attorneys have led people to believe, because most of that stuff is not true.
Right. It's so true.
And the number one mistake that most homeowners make is they have the lender as the number one defendant on their lawsuit, and the lender's signature is nowhere on any of the paperwork to be found.
In fact, it always changes, right? The agents change. Because I remember I was a notary. So, and here's where this ties in, because as I was a notary, I had privy to all the mortgages all the documents, all the signings, all the stamps, robo stamps, and each document says something different. Each document says this, the rest of it says this, the other thing says that. And then in the county, I was part of making mortgages go through the documents for the county. So I had the privy of both parts. The people writing the documents and notarizing and signing them, the agents, making sure the seal's on them, and at the same time, looking at them, preparing them, and getting them sent out. And watching, listen to this, and watching people come up to the place to get the documents that they asked for, but they didn't go through the right way. They handed a few $100s to people, got the documents and left. So I knew then right there, something was up. Somebody was on the take. Somebody was getting paid for that. Somebody was making money on the side to get these mortgages. And this is also liens too.
Yep.
Mortgages and liens. So I had the privy of watching both of them. And I seen the way the notaries work. If I decided I didn't want to do a notary signing, they would find somebody else. And that's what the banks did. They don't care.
Nope.
They just want to pay the notary. And here's the thing about a notary. You know, when I signed on as a notary, I signed to be honest. I signed to be truthful. And I signed that I would sign something when I seen what it was, and I would say what it was. So when I went to a signing of a mortgage, I helped read what was going on. I helped the homeowner know what they were getting themselves into. I helped them read the contract. The bank's like, no, just sign it and leave. I said, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I want the homeowner to know that they're going to get a 35% interest rate up later, or whatever it said, you know, or whatever it was as far as the LIBOR rate. But the point is, if you don't tell people, they don't take the time to read. And a lot of them, it's not that they don't want to do it. They get lazy, they get tired, and they just like sign. And that's part of our issue where we're at, because they know that anything that they sign, whether it's a wet ink signature or a dry ink signature, the court doesn't care.
Nope.
Or a copy, it doesn't care. Original don't mean anything. Copy don't mean anything. Wet ink don't mean anything. And if you point it out to them, they say, that's just conjecture. It doesn't mean anything. So tell me if I'm wrong here.
No, you're absolutely right. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, anytime you go into foreclosure court arguing the banking system, they laugh, and you're going to end up just getting tossed out on the curb. And so that's what I consider the conventional foreclosure defense. In the conventional foreclosure defense program, you have three options. And we all know what they are. We're not gonna spend a whole lot of time. You got your loan modification, and nowadays they're using that as a way to disqualify homeowners, because as soon as you expose yourself and give them your financial information, they find out that you have more income going out than you have coming in, and they're not, you know, now all of a sudden they need some more paperwork. And we didn't get the last thing you sent, and there's all these problems, and all they're doing is just stalling you off. The short sale, we don't even need to touch on the short sale, because it's not going to help you. And people don't realize when they're looking at the short sale situation, the attorneys don't tell you that about half of the states have a deficiency judgment. So when they get done giving your property away for whatever their buddies agree to, then they can come after you later and garnish your wages and all kind of stuff for the difference.
Or taxes.
Yep, for taxes. And the bankruptcy, you know, that has helped people if your goal is to stay in the house, but it didn't really help them, because in most cases you're paying way more than you would have paid. You know, so it comes, oh, wait, there's a fourth option. The fourth option is to move out. And I've had people tell me that their attorneys told them that. I don't know why you're fighting so hard. You should just move out. And I'm thinking, I had a lady tell me that, and I was thinking, you know what, if I had just paid attorney what she paid them and they told me that, I would be going to jail.
No, I know, but this is the game they play. This is the game they play. And they play the game with the realtors. They play the game with the counties. They play the game with everybody that's in the game, all get something out of it. That's why if you take that away from them, they have nothing to gain. We have everything to gain, the homeowner. But until we get to that point, like you said, take back your deed, take back your property taxes, take back your mortgage, take back your all this. We need to learn to do this. We all need to learn to do this. Everybody. If you think that you're exempt from this, it doesn't matter because you could lose your job tomorrow. You know, if you don't have a pension or if you don't have Social Security coming in, the way the economy is right now, there's no reason that everything is okay in your life. I'm just saying, I don't want to scare you, but fear is a driving, momentous thing that we need to do. And we all have to understand that life is presented to us right now. And this guy is trying to show us, or show all of us, that there's ways to go around it. And that's what I want to hear, Guy, the ways to go around it.
Well, we're going to talk about them. I just got a call from my wife, so I had to send her a text.
Okay, no, if you gotta go, you go. And in fact, I have to. And the reason is really crazy because I scheduled you for 2:00, and then when I saw you said 1:00, and then my daughter asked me, "Dad, do you mind if there's a mattress coming for me at 2:00?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, I should be off by 2:00 because you said 1:00." And I'm thinking, "Oh shoot, is he thinking his time or my time?" So I got confused. And I already have somebody coming that's going to drop the mattress off. So I'm screwed. I gotta be off here by 2:00. But I will take questions for anybody or comments that are in the chat room. There are a lot of people watching and listening to us, which is good. But it doesn't mean that, listen, I'm not trying to scare anybody, but the COVID is there and it's not going away. We didn't even see the initial impacts of this yet.
Well, you know, and that's true. And that was why I have my website. I wanted to talk about my online course.
Sure.
And then I also have a website that I have documents on that people can, you know, if your budget is not enough for the online course, you can go to the website and actually get the documents. And when this COVID stuff started, my documents, I had marked them down half price to $850. And when this COVID stuff started, I reduced them down to $500 because I know what they're doing too. I had a client call me and she works for the courthouse, right? And she said that they are not allowing anybody in the courthouse and the title the title office except the attorneys. So the attorneys have been going down there and doing all this stuff while we're all stuck mailing our stuff in and doing all this other stuff. And, you know, they're getting ready. So I dropped the prices of my lawsuit packages down to $500 just, you know, the reason that I started this business was to help people. And it got to the point where I was staying up till 2, 3 in the morning. I couldn't get up and go to work. So I had to make a decision. But still, I'm trying to keep the prices down. Now, one of the things that I want to ask everybody while I'm thinking about it is to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, because once I qualify to host ads on my channel, and I'm just gonna throw it out there, YouTube creators make between $30,000 and $50,000 a month. I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine how many attorneys I could piss off with that kind of budget?
Yeah, there's a lot of attorneys
without charging homeowners an arm and a leg.
See, that's the rub right there. The attorneys, I understand, like my attorney that got me the loan mod, 2 or 3 others didn't even succeed to do that. They had problems, but my one attorney was going to try to get me a loan mod. He actually worked for the station. He was a part-time radio host. He passed away. So my story it's just you wouldn't believe if I told you the beginning to the end just crazy. But all I could tell you is my loan modification cost me like $8,000. $8,000. And they said, if you don't have the extra money, you might not want to stay in a home. I said, but I can afford $2,000. I can't afford $8,000. You see, so they actually push you in a state of disillusionment, and they push you in a state of, hey, he's not going to be in there long. So by you staying in there and doing what you need to do, I mean, we can even talk about squatting too, because squatting is, you know, a lot of my friends do squatting. They don't even pay to stay there. Because the township and the city ordinances and everything, they can't boot you out at squatting. Nobody owns anything. So I want to get your idea on that too.
Well,
I don't agree with it.
No, I agree with you. And people don't realize, and these are some of the things that, well, one of the main tools that we're going to be using in our online course, and I'm going to share that secret with people here today, and I'm just going to share it right now. One of the things that people don't realize is the zone code, the statutes, they do not contain the elements to be considered a valid law. And I mentioned this in a couple of the Facebook groups, and people call me a crackpot or whatever. Look it up.
Don't you love it?
The state constitution mandates that in order for something to be a valid law, it has to have an enacting clause, it has to have a title, and it has to have a body.
Right.
And these things have to be connected with the law. I shouldn't have to go find a whole bunch of other books or whatever to find these things. So what that means is that their codes and statutes are in violation of the Constitution.
Correct.
And people have no idea. So what you want to do is you want to use these defects that challenge the court's jurisdiction to challenge the court's jurisdiction. Now, I know people say, oh, well, the judge is going to ignore it. Hey, that's fine. If the judge wants to ignore it, that's fine. Because now, as long as you got it on the record, now you can challenge the judge.
That's true.
And I have documents to recuse a judge. All you have to do is show the appearance of impartiality. You don't have to prove that the judge is impartial. You just have to show the appearance of impartiality. People have no idea how much power we actually have.
Boy, I wish, like I said, I wish I had known you with my case, because I knew you could have made a big difference. But I even contacted the banking commission, and they told me, they said, well, we really don't sue judges. I'm like, you don't sue judges? You don't think judges are bad? How do you not sue a judge if the judge is wrong, or is a conflict of interest?
Or if the judge acts without jurisdiction.
Or if they act right, or if they act, and you know this more than anything, Guy, if they act within the reason of not believing either party. Not saying that always homeowners are right. I'm not saying that, but a lot of the people have to deal with that. You know, it's part of. Do you have to leave for a second?
No.
You sure you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know we can.
I just let my wife know that I'm busy. Of course, obviously had the time messed up, so she still thinks that it's.
See what I mean? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna try and blame it on her, but I can't quite figure out how to get that to work right now. I need some time to think about it.
Well, we can talk a couple more minutes, and then we can talk about your program.
No, and, I'm fine. You go ahead and talk.
I got till 2:00, so I'm good.
Okay.
But after 2, I gotta split. I gotta do. But I was saying is, with the homeowners, if the judges, and we know this is true, if the judges are part of the program where they're going to make money from the foreclosures, they're already on that one side. So technically, by owning stock or owning bonds in that, one lawyer can say that and have them thrown off the case right away.
Because paying contributions.
Right. Almost all judges are in that. Plus the pension that's done by the court or the cities or municipalities is invested in the stock market for derivatives.
Yep.
which is mortgages, lenders, and notes. That
Yep.
part I know because I used to invest in stocks
But
years ago.
there's the problem is kind of in two parts. One part of the problem is the lies that we've been told.
Right.
Now
that we
we've
know,
been told
right.
that we have rights. Okay, we don't have no freaking rights. Okay, not unless you're willing to do whatever it takes, maybe 33 months of your life locked up to.
Right. Right.
We don't have no rights. Okay. The other thing that we've been told is that the judge is going to be fair. Well, anybody that's been in foreclosure court know that crap ain't going to happen.
No.
Oh, here's another one. The attorney's got your back in court, so you need an attorney to go to court with. And I wrote these down because I want to talk about them in that thing. When I wrote the attorney go to court part, I almost like just busted out laughing to myself for even writing. But those are the things that people, I told a lady one day, I said, you know what, you don't need to pay an attorney. You can mess up your case yourself. But one of the things that we need to understand is that there's two programs. There's a conventional program and there's a non-conventional program. The conventional program was structured by them, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. The non-conventional program, and the reason why we need the non-conventional program is because of what you said earlier, the misconduct.
Right.
The officer of the court's misconduct. And that is why we need the non-conventional program. And that program is holding these people responsible, liable, when they step on you and violate you in court. And this doesn't happen because one, people have been programmed, oh, the judge, and two, people are scared. And
yes, we are.
I tell people when they're thinking about getting in my program or investing in I tell people, look, go to my website, look at everything, check out the questions and answers, scroll down to the disclaimer, and then watch a couple of videos and decide. Because if you're not 100% ready to do whatever it takes, my program is not for you.
All right.
Because when you file my stuff and you piss them off, you better be ready to do whatever it takes, or they're going to try and make an example out of you. And if you start and give up, no, I haven't had anybody do that because, but I'm sure they would. And they use their intimidation. I had a lady tell me one day, they yelled at her. She was really nervous about going to court. She was in a judicial foreclosure. And the number one problem with judicial foreclosures, there's no witness. There's no injured party to provide jurisdiction to the court.
Right.
So I told her, just, object when the attorney starts talking and throw that on the table. She said, well, what do I do when they get done laughing? I said, well, when they're done laughing, then you need to let them know you're objecting because there's no witness.
Right.
And without a witness, the court does not have jurisdiction to act. So she said that in open court on the record. And the judge looked at the attorney and asked the attorney if the attorney had a witness. Of course, the attorney looked at his judge like, what the hell? You I don't have no witness, And the judge continued the hearing until the attorney could bring a witness.
Okay. I hear that.
And she never called me back.
So you don't know what the case happened with the case.
Maybe the case is continued still. I don't know, but she never called me back. And I had a case in Florida, and this was actually one of my wife's friends, and this guy's named Bobby Yeoman. He actually left a review on but he didn't really say in the review what happened, which I was like, oh my God. But anyway, he did leave the review. So they went to court for the second time, and the judge moved them into chambers because they didn't like the paperwork that they filed the first time they went that I gave them. And so while they were in chambers, her boyfriend showed up and her brother, so it's like three people, the judge and the attorney. Well, her boyfriend started texting me. I was like, what the hell? So I looked at it like, my wife's like, what's going on? I said, Bobby's texting me. They're in the judge's chambers. And then he texted me again what the judge was saying and what the attorney was saying. Of course, I was like, oh, hell no. So I texted back what they said. This went on for like 15 and 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And then later on, they called me laughing. And he said the judge kicked them out of his chambers and told them to work it out outside of court. Go. Which meant the attorneys had to go sit the hell down and leave him alone. Because as long as if the judge is not in the program, then they don't have any leg to stand on.
Nope. And if they don't mediate or work something out, it's just gonna. What happens then?
But the number one thing that people need to think about is instead of going in, arguing the lender and all that stuff, because lender, follow the signatures. Look at that document. If you're in a non-judicial foreclosure, look at the notice of default later. Who signed it? The attorney. The attorneys always sign it. It should only be signed by the trustee. And it never is. So the attorney initiates the foreclosure, acting as a third-party debt collector.
They're not supposed to be able to do both, though.
No.
The law is, right?
Well,
do one or the other.
Okay, so the attorney can't verify agency. The attorney cannot verify agency that they were hired by anybody. And when you get right down to it, a corporation can't sign and give anybody any power to do anything when you get right down to it.
Right.
And these are some of the stupid things that people get caught up in. I have to have an attorney and I have to do all this stuff. No. People don't realize, sometimes they give my people a hard time when they go to file their stuff. And I tell them, look, you need to understand, and before you go to file, you need to look up the filing requirement for your state. The filing requirement for your state has the requirements that you need to be following. Okay, those requirements that they're trying to make you follow over there are called local rules. And they're put together, in my opinion, to help speed things up through the court faster.
Right.
And anybody with a half a brain will understand if things are getting sped up through the court faster, you're getting violated.
I mean, you put it point blank right there. I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
so the number one thing people should be doing, the number one mistake most people make if you're in foreclosure court defending your property, is not having the person who actually signed to start the foreclosure anywhere on your document. You think about it. If you're in a judicial foreclosure, that petition only has one signature on it, the attorney's. That's the person who should be held responsible for your damages in the first place. But now we go back to all this stuff, that we're led to believe that, oh, I'm working for it now. Well, they can't verify they're working. As a matter of fact, I have 4 or 5 people in my Facebook page who were directed by the coach, one of my coaches, okay, it was me, to call and harass the attorneys. And I tell people to make a script from your lawsuit, just a little 2 or 3 minute script of things that you need. Because in my lawsuit package, I teach people how to request the actual accounting records from the bank that you would need to verify that your loan was always an asset to the bank and never a liability. Most people look at that and have no idea. But when the attorneys look at it, they'd be like, "Whoa!"
wait a minute. You touched on something, Guy. Why? Tell our people, why is it more an asset than a liability?
Good question. It was because the alleged loan was actually created with your own signature.
Correct.
And people are like, well, what are you talking about? Well, the signature on, actually there's 2 signatures on the promissory note, okay? One of them is yours on the front page over here, it says the buyer, and over here on this side where the seller is supposed to, or the person that's guarantor the loan or whatever, there's nothing, okay? But on the face of that document, after you leave the table, later on when you get it back, and some people have a copy of that shows is stamped paid to the order of, and then it's signed by the president of the bank, that's the person who received the alleged electronic credits. That is the alleged loan that they're saying they gave to you.
That's the asset that everybody thinks that they owe back.
Yep.
But they never did anything. There was no money transacted. It's just that they added more to their numbers.
And as a matter of fact, there's a statute a federal statute that states it's illegal for the bank to lend the depositors money. And I didn't think about it. I had that statute pulled up. And so if it's illegal for the bank to lend the depositors money, where did the money come from?
That's right. Pulled out of the air.
What is money? And that's one of the questions that you want to be out, what money?
It's as far as I know, there was a book years ago, the Banker's Journal or something like that. I forget what it's called. My brain gets scrambled sometimes because of the mini stroke I had years ago. But it's a whatever two parties agree on is considered money. That's what it said. Now this is based on, trading chickens for something else like bartering, but the money has become the universal thing that under UCC codes, right? You can get into that. That money is whatever the two parties agreed upon. So it's like if the contract,
Right.
money is part of the contract because there's no money exchanged in a loan for a mortgage.
And you're right. And there was another word that you said in there that was important. Contract.
Contract.
So a contract is two people signing two signatures. Well, there's only one. So it's and they never. So one of the things that we do too in our new online course is that we make the bank and the court understand that there's something missing from the contract they filed in court. There's six things missing, and those missing things are the way that whole process should have taken place. And the banker's manual, the PDF that people are going to have access to, in that manual, it states what those six things are.
Oh, wow.
And I think it states what those six things are on there's a chapter in there called The Banker's Biggest Fear, What the Bankers Fear, or something like that. So I'm just gonna give you a little break so you don't have to go through the whole thing to figure it out.
Right.
It's in that chapter. And that PDF can be used to strengthen any of your documents that you're filing in court, pro se, if you're fighting pro se. You need to read that PDF. Now, keep in mind, it was written by someone who feels like we should go after the banks and all that. Well, the banks are not the one doing this, it's the attorneys. And that's where we need to start. And that PDF gives people the facts that they need to strengthen their documents, because you're not gonna have any luck talking about the banking side of things. What you need to do is you need to address the misconduct that's going on. And that's what we help people do. And that's why all of the nuts and bolts about your case are not important. People call and they get really frustrated when I don't want to take the time to listen to what happened to them all the way back from 2015, Right. It's like, no, I don't need to know all of that, because we're not going to be using that. As a matter of fact, the only thing that we use, just off the top of my head, is a copy of the petition to show that the attorney signed it in a judicial foreclosure. In a non-judicial foreclosure, we use a copy of the notice of default letter and a copy of the actual deed or the promise or whatever to show who the trustee is, and the default letter shows who signed it. And those signatures don't match, it's a problem. But no one wants to address that. So when you throw that on the table, and if you add the attorney as the number one defendant, that's a problem.
Well, you can also get the attorneys dismissed too. We know that, which is, again, my reasoning was why can't judges be dismissed from a case if there's a conflict of interest? And most judges have conflicts of interest, and most attorneys are judges, so they have conflicts of interest. And they're law firms have conflicts of interest.
Right. Well, the attorney's job is to protect the judge.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a lot of attorneys are judges.
Right.
So in that respect, and again, I'm not trying to demean them in any way. I'm sure there's some good people out there that are, that we don't mean to talk bad about. But in most cases, 90% of the cases in towns, when they go after people for non-payment of their mortgage, the reality is, and you know this to be true too, the mortgage was already paid the day it was signed.
Right.
And then they go after and say, well, you didn't pay us back. Well, you already got the payment. And then
actually, they got payment 9 times. And the money and modern mechanics tells you this. And 9 times the amount went into that demand deposit account. And it's really funny because when I got back from my government vacation and I was in court fighting to reopen my foreclosure case because the prosecutors got them to move on me real quick. One of the things that we talked about was in court, and it pissed them off, is I filed my countersuit for like $5 million. Plus, I wanted the other 8 amount that was left in the demand deposit account, plus the interest. And the attorneys jumped up and was objecting and said that I was just being ludicrous and all I was doing was dragging out the cost of litigation. Well, the funny thing was, the night before, I sat down and read the entire mortgage contract. That's the first time I ever did it. I did the same thing you just said. I signed before and I didn't read none of it.
Right, nobody does.
I read the whole thing. And on one of those pages, it said that I agreed to pay their attorney fees should I go into default. I'm like, what the hell did I can't believe I, you know. So when I get into court, they're complaining about, I'm like, Your Honor, I'm not too worried about that on page whatever it was. I agreed to pay the attorney fees, so I'm not sure why they're complaining.
Well, you know what? We're almost out of time, and I want you to talk a little bit more about the PDF file that we were going to talk about, and how important that is, because that's going to take the game to a whole nother way, another place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that PDF, I used information on that PDF to build the documents that I put in my online course. So, and right now, the only way to get that PDF is to get into to enroll in the online course. Now there's another way they can get it by going through your radio station.
And I love that.
And this is part of my appreciation for having me on and giving me the opportunity to say, hey to everybody, hey.
And I love that because again, we're not out to make a lot of money. We know that it's hard on people, but what we're trying to do is, number one, keep the station going because we only have funds from ourselves. And we want to, help you continue with your course. And then we're going to take some of that money and we're going to put it in the homeless shelters. So it goes back to the people, it's not going to go all to us. I don't take any vacations. I don't take any trips. I don't take anything. I've always been dedicated to radio, time, and other people. And you can ask my wife, you can ask people who have known me 20, 30, 40 years, whatever. I've never been that kind of person where I got to have a big, super screen TV and a brand new big car and all. I don't need any of that. I don't really want any of that. I just want to have all my bills paid and live a simple life, just like the Amish people do. They eat,
Yep.
They garden, they eat their garden food. They don't spend a lot of money there. They save money for their kids. The kids have whatever left over. And that's all I want. I want stuff for my kids. But other than that, I don't want anything out of life. I'm 59 right now. I don't know how much longer I got. But the point is, if you guys want this PDF file, you need to contact me at admin, ADMIN, admin at hamiltonradio.net. And because of Guy, I will send it to you if you send us $10. That's what we decided, $10 through to my PayPal. And once I have your email on the list, we'll talk about the shows. Maybe we can get you on there and maybe talk about your case. I want Guy to come back and start doing this either weekly or monthly, whatever works for him. And I think that's pretty much it. So
I think that will be the best $10 that you could ever spend if you're filing your foreclosure. I had a guy contact me when he found out that I had this PDF, and he had been trying to find one. They don't sell them anymore. The guy who wrote it, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. The guy who wrote it had some people helping him, and those people that was helping him went on their own and started using his stuff and doing, so it pissed him off. So he just made it free to the public. But now the attorneys or whoever runs the program is making it very difficult for people to find.
Right, and the reasoning is because the harder for people to find it, the harder people can fight their case, and then of course the banks win.
Right.
So, listen, I'm tired of the banks winning. I am so tired of the banks winning. It's time that homeowners, people that put together, the grassroots of our communities and people around us, we stick together, we unite together. Look at this guy here. This guy took time out of his day to come on and just talk about this stuff. And that's what we're all about, right? That's what we're all about. I don't know what
Well,
happened to Tom. I got to see what
This is my passion, and I love teaching people how to smack attorneys. So
Well, I don't know what happened to Tom. I thought he was still here. And Tom, if you're here, just to give me a shout out. Do you have any questions for Guy before he goes? Because I'm going to let him leave in another couple minutes. I think Tom left. So I have all these people in the chat room again. ADMIN admin at HamiltonRadio.net. If you want to see more Guy, also tell me, what day and time works for you, because we're going to do what most people want us to do. Wednesdays work for me. At 2:00, I'm available. 2:00, I'm there. So if that works for you, we can do it Wednesdays at 2:00. Sometimes I interview celebrities though. So that's going to have to, I'm going to have to change it like 1:00, 2:00, something like that. So if that works for you, you let me know.
okay.
Okay. But it was a pleasure having you. Guys, any comments, questions, suggestions, email me, admin@hamiltonradio.net. We'll keep this going. This guy is fantastic. And it was a pleasure talking to you too.
It was a pleasure being here, Gene. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Let me shut this off.